right, what's happening, gang? You are live in the Secret Stash. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the GreenHouse Group. And, hey, man, I got you locked in right now for the next hour between 11 and 12. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We're bringing it local, and we're bringing it real estate right now. So if I'm catching you, you might be, passing some time in the cubicle, or maybe you're getting from point A to point B in your ride right now. We're going to drop some knowledge on the rental. Like if you're a renter right now and you want to think about maybe you want to be a homeowner, check it out. You have assistance out there that you might not have even known about it. So in our industry, we call this down payment assistance. And with rents through the roof over the last 12 months, I heard one stat. I don't know if it was talking about a specific little area or not, but they said that rents were up 11% from this time last year. Did you guys see that stat locally? I don't know if that was like a county-wide thing. I should have actually checked the side of that source before I said it live in the air. But I know it was crazy. I almost fell off my chair when I saw it. So rents are going crazy, and prices are where they're at, but rates are so low right now. So if you can combine the crazy rate environment with some of this down payment assistance, you might just be able to get your name on something before this whole fiasco of low rates is over.
Right.
And to have that conversation, I'm flanked by two guys that I respect greatly inside this conversation. They are the mortgage planning trust of the GreenHouse Group. And I'm talking, of course, about David Hewson and Jeremy Beck. What's up, you guys? Thanks for hanging out with us today.
Thanks for having us.
And just, I know you guys have fans, you have followers, you have probably a gazillion people on Instagram that check every single move that you do. Right. But how would you reintroduce yourself for the folks that hear me for the first time? Jeremy, why don't you kick it off?
I always tell people that my favorite thing to do is sit down with somebody who thinks they want to own a home, talk about what it is that they really want to do, and put together a plan to get them from where they are to where they want to be. And that could be, right now, I got to buy right now, to, man, I don't even know where to start, maybe a year, maybe 2 years. And that planning process is really cool for me. I'm a mortgage planner. That's what I do.
I love it, man. Thank you for hanging out with us. I can't wait to get your insight on this. David Hewson, my man from Amsterdam. Not really. By way of Paradise, California, I think. What's up, man? So how would you introduce yourself to someone who's meeting you for the first time right now?
I love having that conversation. It allows me, the opportunity to tell them, maybe a quick story about what I do.
Okay.
And they find themselves in my story, and then, they oftentimes are surprised to find out at the end that I say I'm a mortgage planner, and I essentially tell people, I take people by the hand, walk them through that sometimes very uncomfortable space of buying a home, get them to their destination on time and safely, and I happen to help them with the financing for that purchase too.
Yeah, I love that thought. Yeah.
Yeah. Do they have to hold your hand during?
Not the entire time, but for most of
Just in the beginning.
Yeah.
You're more of a hugger, though, aren't you? Isn't that kind of your thing? You don't really honor the whole personal space concept. That's great. No, listen, you guys, I don't want to belabor this too much because we got a lot of stuff I want to get into. So I gave you guys a little bit of primer. What I wanted to talk about today was down payment assistance. And the reason why is I can't tell you how many countless conversations I have with first-time homebuyers that are calling us up and say, hey, I want to raise my hand. I want to start this process. I don't even know what I don't even know yet. And they don't even have down payment assistance on their radar, right? Like they know that there might be a thing called FHA. They heard of it. One of their buddies got it one time. They're not even sure of that. But that's the extent of it. They don't know that there's a whole nother bucket of stuff that's kind of down, maybe I guess you could say upstream a little bit, that actually could help them, Jeremy, to get from where they are to where they want to be. Because a lot of people get turned off or scared off by the prices.
Yeah.
So what if you could have a little help in that capacity and just have it engineer back to, I only need a little bit of money and I can just afford the rest on my monthly payment?
That silly phrase, you don't know what you don't know. That concept strikes me as so important in this, because what people don't want to do is go to a bank and fill out an application and get told no.
But why not, though? Why is that not a good thing?
Well, Would you? If you know you're not ready to buy, is that what you want your first step to be, to go in and fill out an application? You already know you're not ready to buy. So maybe what most people want, at least that I find and my clients find valuable, is they want to sit down with somebody and learn a little.
Right. Yeah. That's what I was fishing for right now. Mm-hmm. I'm not taking anything away from any people who sit at banks right now. I'm sure you guys are amazing. But a lot of the feedback I get from people in that experience is that you go and you sit down and you get a yes or no.
Right.
It's not about getting a yes or a no. Right. You know, if it's a yes, great, okay, I guess I'm a home buyer now. And if it's a no, well, why, what, mm-hmm. right? So that's the difference of what you guys do as mortgage planners, right? It's more of an educational process so that you're a participant in the unfolding and you're actually kind of like, it's transparency, right? So you get to understand every step along the way and all these different options. So to put a frame around this, guys, I got this... and by the way, I'm going to put this on the website so everybody can download this. It's called Down Payment Assistance Myths Debunked. And I love that because that's what we're talking about, right? There's actually 10 surprisingly down payment assistance myths, and we're going to debunk them here today. So let me get into this because we're already rocking and rolling on time. So myth number 1, come on, guys, stop me if this isn't chief on your list too. Down payment assistance programs are only for first-time home buyers.
Yeah.
True or false?
Yeah.
Absolutely false.
Right. Why?
Well, I think when most people think about down payment assistance, they automatically equate that to first-time home buyers. A lot of these conversations take place within the context of somebody buying their first home, so that gets communicated as, oh, this must be a first-time home buyer program. Right. And while first-time home buyers do represent the majority of the people taking advantage of these programs, that's an assumption that is certainly a myth.
What people also don't know is the definition of first-time home buyer is just you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years.
Right.
So it might not be your first time, but first time, long time.
Which, come on, let's be honest, man. Coming out of 2006, 7, and 8, you know, we'll call it maybe off color here, the bloodbath, you know,
sure.
that happened. A lot of people, they don't own a home right now. They are home owners. They had to get rid of it because they got caught up in that fiasco, and now they want to get back in again, and they might not see themselves as first-time home buyers.
Right.
But they are because they've been sitting on the sideline for 3 years.
Right.
Okay, cool. So we're going to debunk that myth. We'll put like a little ding next to that or something. Cool, moving on? I don't know if that's the right soundbite, but we'll move it. So myth number 2, assistance programs are no longer funded.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a common misconception, and I think one of the things that you can learn from this is that the funding comes from a variety of different sources for these things. So you might hear your neighbor say, oh, I was going for a program and it ran out of money, and then you assume that applies to everything. But these are federal money. Where's the money come from, Dave?
Well, it comes from all levels, local, state, and federal. And you do have to check to make sure there is funding, but it is most often the case that there is funding. Yeah. And if there isn't funding for the program that you're interested in, at least the first one, we can switch gears and go to another one. And
that's another benefit of this. And listen, I'm going to give you guys the greatest gift right now that I wish I had before I bought my first home, and that is a little tool. It's like a little online widget. Okay? And you're going to be able to catch that after the show going on our site at thegreenhousegroupinc.com. We're going to put it on /DPA. That sounds for down payment assistance. It's actually a little online calculator, if you can believe this, where you can punch in the address of the home that I guess you're interested in. Maybe you're pursuing, maybe you're thinking about buying it, maybe you're already in escrow, you want to double check the findings. You can plug in the address, answer a couple quick yes or no questions, and it'll show you how many products are available for you in that given house. Because we all know it's also very regional, right? There's some products that exist for certain areas and they don't exist for other areas. Different income levels, all that different stuff. So coming up after the break, first of all, that's a huge little tell right there. So again, write that down if you haven't already. thegreenhousegroupinc.com /DPA. After the show, we're going to have that widget up there for you to go check out. We're going to get back into this myth thing, and we're going to talk about, is it really difficult to qualify for these home buyer programs? Like, what's the minimum requirement? What's required of me? And then, is using down payment assistance program going to make the whole process more difficult or not? We'll be right back. Real Talk Radio San Diego, you are live in the stash.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5 Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5 Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most. At closing, why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
All right, gang, what's happening? You are live back in the Secret Stash. I got you for your 11 o'clock hour. This is Real Talk Radio San Diego. We got some cool local people talking about some cool local stuff right now. And if you are in the camp of, hey, man, I'm a renter, you might have even gotten a notice from your landlord already that stuff's going up right now. I don't want to misquote myself like I made the mistake of doing potentially in the first segment, but let's just all agree rents are up. Yes?
Rents are very strong.
We don't exactly know how much. I heard the 11% allegedly. So what we're going to do today instead is say, hey, how do we help you, inspire you to be that impetus, to be like, hey, man, I was listening to the Secret Stash on the radio the other day. I was in between to and fro, whatever, and I heard about this thing called down payment assistance programs. So if that's you right now, we got you covered. And we're talking about the 10 myths of down payment assistance programs, which hopefully gets you out of the way of yourself and closer to home ownership before all these rates start going up, which of course is the critical part. So I'm flanked by my two mortgage planners, Jeremy Beck and David Hewson, and you can catch them, by the way, if you have questions specific to your situation. Jeremy at greenmeansgrow.com. That's a silly name. Why is that your email address, Green Means Grow?
That was like the old website name where we developed that. Green, obviously, talks about growth, and Green Means Grow was a kind of a play on Kiyosaki's idea about
Robert Kiyosaki, author of Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Yeah,
right.
Someone asked him how he gets rich, and he said 3 greenhouses and a red hotel.
Which was the play on Monopoly, of course. Very clever. I was a setup for you because I think that's a very clever web domain. And then, of course, David at greenmeansgrow.com as well. You guys are the two mortgage planning wings of the highly touted GreenHouse group in San Diego, California, helping with all your finance for real estate. So we started off the last segment basically dispelling the first two myths, which of course was down payment assistance only for first-time home buyers. Not true, right, gang? And then the second thing is that, those assistance programs, my mom and dad got one, but they're no longer funded. Not true. Funding's actually rampant around those. However, they do move from place to place. So it's critical that you got a pulse on what's right for you. And that's why we set up that link over at the greenhousegroupinc.com/DPA so you can find out for yourself. So let's keep this conversation rolling. Myth number 3, gang. Okay? Maybe if I can get a little drum roll or something for it. It's difficult to qualify for these home buyer programs. True or false?
I would say that it is somewhat true. Meaning it's nothing to be scared of, but you've got to do some research.
Say more about that.
So these down payment assistance programs certainly add a layer that must be taken into account. And they're
in advance, too. Like, you can't write an offer on a house and then go see if there's, you know what I mean? Like, you got to see what's available in the market you're looking at in advance, correct?
Absolutely.
Because some of them require, like, classes and stuff, don't they?
It's like you want to get pre-approved before you buy.
Right.
If you want to add down payment assistance to that pre-approval scenario, you need to start even a little earlier.
Yeah. Because typically everybody says, I need 20% down to buy a house. Right? Isn't that kind of what the going psychology is? Like, you don't have 20%, you can't buy a house. Well, that's not true, right? We found out that you can have programs of 15, 10, 5, 3.5, and there's even 3% down to buy a house.
That's correct.
So the down payment assistance helps with all of those, yes or no?
Right. Exactly true. And one of the things that, when we're specifically to being difficult to qualify, there are parameters. You're talking about the property location, the type of the home, sales price limits. You do have to get home buyer education for most of them.
Which is like what? Going sitting in on a class.
Yeah,
I think
you got to take a class and get a certificate.
Which is about as fun as doing dentistry on yourself. But if they're going to give you money for it.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, you've got a big incentive to go to this class.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, go ahead.
So, that's when people talk about qualifying and or being difficult, it's just the time and the planning early, which is why you come meet with someone like me or Dave. You send us an email, Jeremy at greenmeansgrow.com, Dave at greenmeansgrow.com, and that allows us to set up a meeting and put a plan in place to get you ready to buy. This is before you're shopping.
Yeah. Yeah. And, the thing I think which is also critical when you talk about qualifying, there are income requirements for some of these things, right? Like, they don't want you to be making, $300,000 and then going and getting something on the county's dime, right? So right. I mean, I know they all vary from program to program, but generally speaking, about where do you see the average for income for these types of programs? Like, you can't usually be over what for a household income?
Well, it's based on the Fannie Mae average median income.
Okay, so that's specific to San Diego.
Area median income, specific to San Diego.
Right.
And a lot of these programs exceed the area median income. You can find them at around 110, 115%.
That's amazing. That's totally juice for a first-time home buyer, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And some of them will go up to even 120%.
Okay, fantastic. So we're going to blow that myth up. I wish I had like the Funkmaster Flex, big bomb explosion. I think that would be the more appropriate one to blow this up. But let's keep rolling here. So myth number 4, using down payment assistance programs makes the process of home buying more difficult. True or false?
I think we can piggyback just what we were talking about earlier, and it's all about getting in early and making a plan. Okay. That's where people find this difficult, is to do it at the last minute.
Okay. So
doing it at the last minute is what this myth is talking about. It's a nightmare if you start too late in the game.
Okay,
but starting early, not a problem.
So reinforcing the point, of course. Now, I would say the only caveat, which is a little tricky, like, for example, when they go to the GreenHouse Group, Inc.com/DPA, and they plug in, you need to have an address in order for that little thing to work, right? So that's if it's a specific property. Okay, that might be a conversation starter if you're kind of looking in a general area, but that's why they got to talk to you guys, right? Because you can get them involved in what's good for the area. Oh, this area's got this. that area doesn't have that, right? So you don't need a specific address yet.
And one important point about that search engine is that it's better to keep the parameters a little general. If you just plug in one address after the other, it's not going to give you the most accurate findings.
Right.
If you just put in the city or the zip code, it's going to be much better.
It's a great conversation starter, which is where then you go to your mortgage planner and be like, hey, man, what about this one? Am I good for this? What's the deal, right?
Right.
Okay, good. Yep. Now, I'll only add on that from the real estate side of things, which, of course, is the part of the conversation I have responsibility for. Down payment assistance programs sometimes fall with a thud when you write them in on purchase contracts to agents that might not know about them. You guys know what I'm talking about with this?
Yes.
So it's kind of like they're kind of scared of what they don't know, and that's totally reasonable, right? So I think it goes back again to, you said starting early. Another part of it is education. Not just for the buyer, like you said, I think very astutely, Jeremy, but also for the agent who's representing that offer and the lender who's representing it, to try to make sure that they can counsel the other side. Don't be afraid of it. Right? It might have a little bit of integrated complexity, but don't throw out the baby with the bathwater and just disregard our great offer just because we're getting some down payment assistance.
Exactly.
So it has a lot to do with communication, I would say, as well. Okay, we're cruising. Can I get on to myth number 5? We'll get a little bing. Can you give me a Funkmaster Flex blow up, Jared?
Absolutely not.
No? That's not within your wheelhouse? No. Oh, wow. I can't believe that's all you gave me.
Hey,
all right,
we're
buddy.
only on 5.
All right. Hey, by the third segment, I expect a lot more out of you, okay? So let's get on to this before the break. So almost halfway there. Myth number 5, down payment assistance is only for inexpensive homes. This is an interesting one, and it applies, I think, purposefully to San Diego, because, is there any real inexpensive homes in San Diego left? So hit me with this, guys. True or false on this myth?
That's a myth, because these programs are based more on the borrower's credit and financial profile, and that's going to determine purchase price.
Right.
There are no purchase price limits on these that are going to limit anybody's home search.
Yeah, and, let's think about this in a different term. If we pan back a little bit, what the heck are these down payment assistance programs for? They're for community redevelopment and home ownership. They want people to have pride in their homes, pride in their neighborhoods, and that's the goal of this. So it's not meant to be restrictive, but they are looking to help people who actually can use it. And in San Diego, one of the stats here in this in this ebook is, on average, 70% of all homes for sale are eligible for one or more programs.
That's incredible.
That's a crazy stat. Now, that might not be true in San Diego because of places like La Jolla and that sort of thing. But, yeah, that's generally speaking, if you're looking in affordable areas, you still need to afford the loan that you're getting into.
Well, we were shocked, Jer. I don't know how, I'm going to misquote myself and say it was about a month back or whatever when we were doing a show on what was available in San Diego.
Yeah.
You and I both almost fell off our chair when we found out that almost 25% of San Diego's available market was on sale for less than $250,000.
That's crazy.
Now, I don't know if that's true anymore. That was, like I said, several shows removed, but wasn't that far away to still throw a stone and hit it.
Right.
So, I mean, there's a lot that's available out there. A lot of people just look at the median price of what, 510 or something, what is you guys, right? And they think, oh, it's out of reach for me. Well, maybe not so much, but you got to bend a little bit, and you got to know what resources are available to you out there. This could be the difference on whether or not you actually get into something or not.
Yep.
You know, like I love that story, Dave, that you and I were actually part of about 4 years ago, where I'm just going to use her name, Megan. You know, her name to protect the innocent. But, she was able to buy a home. She didn't even think she could qualify for anything when she came down and met you first. She actually, I remember, came in, was like, this is a big waste of your guys' time, was her quote. And little did she know that with some down payment assistance that you found for her, she was able to buy a house, a full house, 3-story house, with a view out of 5 out of the 6 rooms, 2-car garage, not like a little 1-bedroom condo in the middle of nowhere. And she put 0.5% down. Remember that?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, that girl, fast forward, she closed escrow on her home last week. She made $125,000. Changed her life by putting 0.5% down. That was a girl that came into your office and said, I'm going to waste your time. I'm sorry in advance. I don't qualify for anything.
Right. And
that's the power of down payment assistance.
Yeah, and those are the great success stories of people who don't think they can buy in San Diego because they see that median price of a home and assume that they're priced out.
That's exactly right. And that's what we're going to hopefully debunk for you today as well. And that's why we're exploding up Funkmaster Flex, Jer.
Boom.
Funkmaster Flex explosion. We're blowing up the 10 myths of down payment assistance. We're debunking them. And you're going to be able to go online to thegreenhousegroupinc.com/DPA. You're going to be able to download a copy of this ebook as well as the little calculator that you can punch in your exact address to see what down payment assistance is available for you. So coming up, we're going to get on from 6 and 7. We're going to talk a little bit more about, is down payment assistance compatible with my loan? And then, is down payment assistance require a different closing timeline? Those are critical points, and we're going to address them. We'll be right back. Secret Stash, baby. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
Waka 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 waka. Steve, bringing it live, my man. That's why I appreciate you, brother. Ain't nobody knows burning down the house like you and I know, Steve. I got them locked and loaded right now. These are my dead eyes. Do you see this? Blue eyes, baby. That's right. That's what's live in the stash. And we got some other dudes live in the stash as well. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We're debunking the 10 myths about down payment assistance programs with two gurus. We're just making up new words here. Two gurus of real estate finance. And I'm, of course, talking about Jeremy Beck, co-founder of the GreenHouse Group, and David Hewson. Dude, how long have you been doing mortgage planning, Dave? Like, what, 59 years?
Close. This is my 13th year.
Okay, well. Age doesn't show it on you then.
Started when he was 50.
Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us on this very important topic, because would you guys agree, if there's a thesis to this whole hour, it's most people don't know what they don't even know. And this stuff is out there. It's just waiting for someone to come and grab it and say, can I have me some of this, right? And it just sits latent for someone else to go, and we're all paying for it. For someone else to go take advantage of. Why not it be you? And why not also it maybe even be the impetus that gets you out of that increased rental that you're probably in right now and get you in maybe to your first home. So that's why we got Jeremy and Dave, and I'm picking up where I left off. We already talked about down payment assistance only being for first-time home buyers, the fact that they got no more money left in them, right, which are all myths, that they're difficult to qualify for, not true, that it makes the whole process more difficult. I mean, there's elements to that, but overall not true. It's only for inexpensive homes, not true again. So myth number 6, gang, down payment assistance is only compatible with FHA loans. This is interesting, right? Because you think of FHA loans kind of being the quintessential first-time home buyer product. And then you already heard earlier, it's already a myth that we debunked, that people think this is only for first-time home buyers. So can you bolt on this with other programs?
Absolutely. Yeah. And this is big in a community like San Diego because here in San Diego, our entry-level properties are usually condos.
Right.
And when it comes to FHA financing, you must have an FHA-approved condominium.
Right.
And those are few and far between.
Few and far between, right?
So this makes conventional financing the option usually for condo financing here when pursuing down payment assistance. And I actually am helping somebody right now buy his first condo, and we have to use conventional financing because it's not an FHA-approved condominium complex. So we're bolting on the Sapphire grant as well as the MCC credit.
Damn! So they're getting a 2 for Tuesday right there.
That's right.
That's cool. And so this is a conversation that needs resources, right? So we're kind of in this ethereal land right now. We're 30,000 foot. But did I hear either of you say that you actually brought like an actual real world example? Is that you, Dave?
Yes.
Okay, so bring us now into the reality of this, right? So let's just say you're like, hey, man, yeah, I'm listening to this right now, and I wouldn't mind some free money, so I'm raising my hand. So how would this play out right now? Give me like a real-world example of how down payment assistance could work.
Okay, so taking the San Diego County area median income adjustment, which is 115%, and I'm looking at now...
And what does that mean, though? I mean, without getting too much into it, like what does that mean?
Right, the San Diego area median income is at 115%, which makes it $72,700.
Okay, I see. Okay,
that's the annual income for the household.
Okay, got it.
And there's no household number. That can be one person, that can be 4 people.
Okay, got it.
So this works well for people who are looking maybe just 1 or 2 people, single person, a couple.
Okay.
So taking that income and dividing that out by an annual or a monthly income.
Okay.
We get a gross income of about $6,000 a month.
Okay.
All right. So what does that translate to in purchase price?
Okay.
Using an FHA option is probably the first option we would look at. We also could look at...
Just because why? Because it's such a little down, right?
And it actually increases your purchase power.
Okay. So you only have to bring 3.5% down in order to qualify for an FHA loan, up to certain amounts, basically. And then the rate's really good? Is that what it is? Why it increases your purchase power?
Yeah, FHA rates are lower, and now that mortgage insurance premiums have dropped,
got it.
Everybody's purchase power is up when pursuing FHA financing.
Because that's the thing with FHA is they actually have mortgage insurance kind of built into it, right?
Right.
So those recently dropped, which increase people's purchase power.
Right.
Got it. Okay, please continue.
So I'm using the Platinum grant, which is through the National Homebuyer Fund.
Okay.
Okay. So this is actually a grant, not a down payment assistance loan.
Interesting. So like you don't have to pay this back.
No payment,
wow.
No repayment. And it's 5% down.
Wow.
So this gives us a purchase power of $400,000.
Because you're making $6,000 a month.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. So, and I'm accounting for other debts as well here. I'm accounting for, everybody's got their car payments and their credit cards. And
so what are you just using for an average? Like a couple $100 for that stuff?
I'm using $350.
Okay.
In other consumer debt.
Okay, fair enough. So revolving consumer debt, loading you down an extra $350 a month. Got it.
Right. And this is well within this calculation, meaning I'm not stretching this very much. I'm keeping this at a very low, healthy debt ratio, much lower than even what the maximum would be.
Okay.
And we're coming up with $400,000. So $400,000 in San Diego, you're just entering probably the home conversation, as far as maybe leaving the condo conversation and moving into what could possibly be a detached single family. And I know that that's big here in San Diego with so many condos requiring FHA financing.
And what you're saying, Dave, is that the buyer's not bringing in any of their money. That's just with the grant covering 5%.
That's correct.
So the FHA only requires 3.5 down, right?
Right.
So what happens to the other 1.5%?
So that goes towards closing costs.
You got to be kidding me.
So you have 3.5 of that 5% that goes to down payment, and then you have an additional 1.5% going to pay closing costs. So you literally could get into something with zero money out of pocket.
Damn! We had to get Chris Tucker in on that one. So you're trying to tell me right now that FHA, if you bolted this on, you actually not only would get this grant, the platinum grant, right? So this specific situation, and if the numbers worked out to $6,000 household income a month,
right,
that you could buy a home for $400,000, even if you had like a car payment and stuff still chilling around on your liabilities, and you'd actually have money left over to be able to help pay for closing costs.
That's correct.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Yeah, and these are these are guidelines that I think are real world guidelines that translate here on the ground in San Diego County. This is not something that just applies out in, say, Phoenix or somewhere where home values aren't where they are here,
or rural, or some crazy stuff where they're trying to augment stuff.
Right.
This is actual. So let's bring this back into the myth. So you debunked this already. You said that down payment assistance myths are not only for FHA, even though we gave that example because FHA happens to be pretty aggressive right now. They can actually apply for conventional loans as well.
Yes.
Got it. Nice work, gentlemen. Okay, let's move on then. Jared, can I hit you with this one? Myth number 7: down payment assistance programs require longer closing timelines.
You know what? I think with a lot of these, the truth is kind of halfway there. And there's a reason why these are myths, is because people have experienced something. And again, this is about pre-planning. So if you talk about from the time you start your process in getting a down payment assistance program to the time you finish, yes, it's longer. But that's why you don't start it at the same time. That's why you get ahead of the game early, do your education, do your planning, do your numbers, and then it doesn't take any longer.
And Dave just said it's totally worth it, for goodness sakes.
Yeah.
I mean, you could come to the table with nothing down if you qualified for that one and still have money left over for closing costs. What you're saying, and I think this is the difference of the understanding that I have of the myth, is that people normally equate to escrow timeline.
As a closing time.
You're thinking of the 30 days typically negotiated where you get a contract accepted and then you close escrow and you get your keys. You're saying it is extended, but you're saying it's basically upstream.
Yeah.
Your process has to start earlier with more diligence.
For the most part. And there are some programs that require an additional level of scrutinization, so they have their own underwriting for their down payment assistance program. Obviously, that's going to take a little bit of extra time. But some programs are grants. Some programs are money that they're just bolting on. And if you qualify for your first, you qualify for this. And so there's no additional underwriting times or processes.
Dave?
Yeah, I don't think I could add much to that. I mean, I think the timelines for acquiring a home is going to be directly impacted by just what Jeremy said, the pre-planning. So you get after it early, it's not going to be anything to be afraid of. As long as like you said, communicating with the selling side, letting them know.
Yeah. And it can happen from time to time because there's integrated complexity that sometimes goes along with these. But don't throw, again, that baby out with the bathwater. One size does not fit all, right? Most of the work should be done in advance to make sure that there's no additional time frames allotted to your closing time, which, of course, is everybody's worst fear, right? Right. So good. Gang, you guys are cruising. 7 down, 2 to go. Is that true?
That sounds like 9.
Sorry. Yeah, we got 3 to go. So 7 down, 3 to go.
But I do math for a living. It's not your bad.
You guys got your work cut out for you then, because we're going to coming up. We got 3 more we got to do. Thank you, Jeremy, for helping me out with that math. Is down payment assistance dollars, are they ever forgiven? That's an interesting concept. Dave, we were kind of talking about that a second ago. And then sellers. They play a big role in this. Are they even going to consider your offer in that situation?
Right.
And then, of course, what's the major advantage of doing DPA versus a bigger down payment? That's why you're in the stash, baby. And we got you live, Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll be right back.
Hi, it's Courtney with 5-Star Escrow. If you provide 5-star service, your escrow company should too. When you need fast, friendly, and accurate service, think 5-Star Escrow. We're the escrow company of choice for the Friends of Real Talk San Diego, and we're committed to delivering a first-class experience when you need it most, at closing. Why settle for less? 5-Star Escrow, getting your transactions closed and getting you paid on time. Visit us at 5starescrow.com. That's 5starescrow.com.
All right, gang, you are live back in the Secret Stash, Real Talk Radio San Diego. I'm your host, Jesse Ibanez, co-founder of the GreenHouse Group, and I'm flanked by two people who I happen to adore personally and professionally because they are the mortgage planning wing of the GreenHouse Group as well. I'm talking about Jeremy Beck, of course, and David Hewson. And we're blowing up this whole concept of down payment assistance to make sure that you get your hands on some if you're trying to get into a home right now. There is a ton of local money that is just waiting idle for you to go and grab and see if you might be able to offset some of the cost of actually acquiring some real property right now in San Diego. Yeah. This is real stuff happening right now.
It's real.
It's real on Real Talk. That's right, baby. So, gang, listen, I know we got to get through these last three here, and I don't want you to run too much up on the hard hour. So allow me to hop right back into this. So, myth number 8 of 10. Sorry, 7, 8. 8 of 10.
Yes.
Jeremy?
You're getting good at it. You're getting good at this.
8 of 10. Down payment assistance dollars are never forgiven. Dave, come on. You just talked about this, right?
Yeah. So down payment assistance fall into two categories, loans or grants.
Loan you got to pay back, grant you don't, right?
Right. So grants we already talked about, obviously does not need to be paid back. The loans.
So why would they do that, though? They're just trying to what? They're like what you said, Jeremy. They're trying to
bolster home ownership, pride of owning a home.
Because
neighborhoods get developed better.
It's a
there's
civic
more
thing,
stability.
right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's definitely a public interest in home ownership.
No question. Okay, good. So we debunked this, right? Right, Dave?
Yeah, and even it's worth mentioning that even the loans, if you stay in the home for a minimum amount of time, it can be anywhere from 5 to 7 to 9 years, and it's your primary residence, the loan is fully forgiven.
Yeah. Good. Ding. Okay, good. Bunked. Let's move on. That one was an easy one. So this one gets a little more difficult. Myth number 9. Sellers won't accept them. They call them layered financing, right? Yeah. You know, this is right. Falls into a bunch of different categories. But basically the idea is that this creates integrated complexity for you as a buyer going out and trying to get your offer accepted, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy, help me out with this.
You know what? I would push back against the real estate side here on this one, where the lender has the opportunity to get the buyer ready. But the real estate agent also has to be aware that they have a buyer who's interested in down payment assistance programs and make sure that they're pursuing those things diligently and ahead of time. And then the real estate agent also has the opportunity to have that conversation with the other side. So, you know, that's your expertise, Jess.
You have to sell it.
Yeah.
Right? And that's a difficult thing right now because, you know, we're finding that there's not a lot of inventory in San Diego County. And usually speaking, when something comes on the market, it's fairly priced, you have a multitude of interest, which usually ends up in being competing offers.
Right.
And so everybody knows cash is king, and all sellers have already signed up long ago that means easy close, quick sale, you know, no problems, right? On the other end of the spectrum, you've got, little to no money down. Oh, the guy's using down payment assistance. Right? So the challenge, of course, the heuristic is on us to be able to debunk that myth for the listing agent.
Most definitely. You know, we come across the same issue with VA financing.
Yeah.
There's this dinosaur of an idea that you can't get a VA loan closed and it's too hard. It's just wrong. And so really educating the other side is really important.
Now, why does that myth exist, though?
You know, well, because before, the VA lenders in particular had to be re-underwritten by the VA. And so if you don't have a lender that's doing their own VA underwriting, they have to be authorized to do so. And the VA's basically said, look, you do it. It's your responsibility. You're licensed to go ahead and authorize this loan. Here are our parameters. Follow them. And that wasn't always true.
Fair enough. So can we put that one to rest? Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
Good. I love that one. That's actually a great one. If there's ever one to follow up on, Dave, can I plug your class, dude? I mean, this is what you go into depth in your first time homebuyer class, right? You talk about what's it going to take for you as a buyer to get from where you are to where it is that you need to be. And if you're using down payment assistance program, this is a critical piece to the pie, is it not?
Yeah, and we don't just get first-time homebuyers at the homebuyer class, and it does go over homebuyer basics. We talk about loan programs, we talk about down payments, we talk about what closing costs mean, we talk about down payment assistance. So it's a great overview, but we also can get very specific because we keep the class sizes fairly small.
I love that. I know you made that shift a couple years back. That's a critical one. I know that really impacted the experience for the folks that come in. I mean, it used to have like a whole room full of people. Now you keep it down to like what? 2, 3, 4, 5 at a time?
We try to keep it to a maximum of 5.
Maximum of 5. That's so cool, man. I love that you do that.
We do it every other week, and our next one is Wednesday, May 27th.
Wednesday, May 27th, and that's right in your headquarters, right, in Mission Valley?
That's correct.
Okay. Cool. So we blew that one up. So let's get on to this last one. I think this one's going to take a little bit of time. We saved the best for last, you might say. Myth number 10. It's advantageous for buyers to put more down payment. Meaning like if you have it, it's better for you to use the down payment versus not use the down payment. True or false?
Such a tricky question, right?
Yeah.
Really, this is kind of the numbers behind the numbers. And we start talking about more complex ideas like opportunity cost.
Yes.
What would you be doing with that money if it wasn't buried in your home?
That's such a big one, Jay. I'm going to give you a point for that one right there.
Thank you.
That's a big one.
And
that's what a mortgage planner talks about, right?
Exactly.
Right. And when you think about down payment assistance, that's not your money. So you get to keep your money and do something else with it, which is kind of cool.
Which is also important.
Can I go for 3?
I don't know. Is it in you? Is it in you? Here, let's give you the drum roll. Do you got 3?
So the other thing is that mortgage rates are very low. And borrowing money at that rate is not so much of a problem. You made me time it for the drum roll.
Yeah,
that was stupid. I don't even think I got my point out.
Top.
Yeah, there it is.
Dave, what do you think about that?
Yeah, so it's all about the mortgage plan. I don't have much to add there. It's
I got a lot to add. This is actually a really big rabbit hole. Okay, because we go back to that point you made a second ago. Everybody thinks you need 20% to go buy a house. Mm-hmm. Okay, not true. We blew that up, right? Not on top of that, there's actually free money around that you can actually use to help offset it. Mm-hmm. The goal in real estate, Jared, this is kind of what you're talking about for opportunity cost. Even though subprime loans and no money down financing got the worst rap when everything went you-know-what and south, the truth is the goal in real estate is to try to OPM as much as possible, abuse as much other people's money as possible. Because whether you put 10 grand down or 100 grand down, you still have the full access to the entire asset.
Right.
I'm getting a benefit of a $400,000 asset. The only difference is how much money of my own money do I have to put down to actually get it.
Right.
So the game becomes what down payment assistance programs are available to me to where I put as little down as possible to be able to still get the house.
Yep.
Especially now.
Right now.
Where rates are.
Yeah, with rates are credible. So listen, obviously, a lot to go over in this capacity, and hopefully I left you a little better than how I found you today in the stash. But what I'm going to invite you to do is a little bit after the show, we're going to put up live this link. It's called thegreenhousegroupinc.com/DPA. And we're going to have several resources on there for you. The first of which is actually going to be this free ebook. So you can download this and you can check out all the stats that we covered over the show today. The second of which is that online calculator, so you can actually plug in your own little address to be able to see if your home that you might be interested in actually qualifies for any of these programs. And then the least of which are these guys, too, that were nice enough to come and share their time with us today and leave us, of course, a little further than where they found us. And that, of course, is Jeremy Beck, co-founder of the GreenHouse Group.
It was fun, bud. Good to see you.
You can catch him at jeremy@greenmeansgrow.com. And then I got Dave Hewson, mortgage planner extraordinaire. You can catch him, of course, David.
Good to be here.
At greenmeansgrow.com. And David's got a homebuyer class. You're not going to want to miss that.
Free hugs.
Next Wednesday. That's a stash, baby. Real Talk Radio San Diego. We'll see you guys back here next week.